That's the only way to do that.
How you doing? Everything going well?
All right, if we can please call the roll.
Certainly, Mayor. Mayor Bright Cruz.
Here.
Vice Mayor Albritton.
Present.
Councilmember Hartman.
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
Councilmember Kaczynski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. If you'll please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Before we get started this evening, I want to have a moment of silence for a couple of things. First of all, David, for your mom, a real loss, and our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I also, for the terrorist attack in Israel, all the victims there, the tragedy that has been unfolding there. If you'll please just join me in a moment of silence. Great, thank you. All right, we are very fortunate. We have a wonderful guest here with us this evening, the Broward County property appraiser, Marty Kerr. And Marty, before you get into it, I believe that there is something else that we want to recognize this evening. And I want to make sure I get it right. President of the Florida Property Appraisers Association.
I am.
Awesome.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Huge honor.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
well-deserved, Marty. Well-deserved. You've
thank
done
you
a
very much.
fantastic job for all of us here in Broward, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. That's so wonderful. I appreciate that so much. They'll probably regret it, but they made me the president of the Florida Association of Property Appraisers, and it's basically made up of all the property appraisers throughout the state of Florida. And what we do is we go to Tallahassee and we advocate for really good issues that affect people, that give people the opportunity to hopefully pay less in property taxes, to advocate for more exemptions, and we basically work in a very nonpartisan way together. It's fantastic. And so thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I promise I won't talk for too long. Keith basically just read me the riot act a few minutes ago. But I want to tell you, before I just quickly talk about how our office can help the people of Southwest Ranches, where values are right now, and something that's very near and dear to my heart, as you know, and that's cracking down on title fraud, I wanted to thank you all. I love coming to Southwest Ranches. I really do. We have 31 cities. I love going to all of them, but for some reason, every time I come here, I feel like I'm coming home. And the one thing that I've noticed, and I've known this for a long time, is I've yet to meet one person in Southwest Ranches that dislikes living in Southwest Ranches. And I think it's because of the great job that you all do and the great work that your staff does. And before that as well, I know that Andy is leaving in December. He is such a fantastic guy, and I'm not saying that because I walked to his door many, many years ago in another city asking for his vote, and he didn't slam the door in my face. But he has been just an amazing person to be able to work with, and I think he's made a great difference for the people of Southwest Ranches. And a big congratulations to Russell. I've known Russell for decades. I think he's going to do a fantastic job, and I don't think you could have found another person that could do a better job for this position, and I just think that's just awesome. And then the other person I just wanted to quickly mention is your incredible lawyer, Keith, and that's not because I just call him for free legal advice all the time, but I think he does a great job also for the people of Southwest Ranches. But with that said, just for the residents, and I promise I won't talk for too long, there are a few main functions to our office. The first function is we determine the value of every piece of property in Broward County for tax purposes, whether it's residential, commercial, tangible personal property, or centrally assessed property, which are railroads. And the reason that's important is because when people pay their property taxes, the amount of taxes they pay is a relationship between the value of the property that we set and the tax rates set by Southwest Ranches, the county commission, the school board, and all other taxing authorities. So the most important thing we want to do is just get it right. And as you know, Broward County is a humongous place. More people live here than 13 states, the District of Columbia, and all U.S. territories except Puerto Rico. It is very, very big. And there are more parcels that we appraise than many states. And even though the people in our office do a very good job and their assessments are very accurate, mistakes can occur, or maybe people have information about their property that we don't have that could help us bring down their assessed value, which would bring down their property taxes. And just for the residents, let me give them a quick example. About a month ago, I was sitting in my home and I got a phone call from a resident. And the resident said to me, "Marty, I understand why you valued my property the way that you did. You looked at what my property looked like on January 1st of this year, and you looked at all the other properties in my neighborhood that were similar to mine that sold, and that's how you came up with the value. But my property is different. It's dilapidated with a lot of water damage." And I said, "Well, show me what you got." And they provided us their insurance information, pictures of the inside of their home. And as a result of that, we were able to bring down their assessed value, which actually brought down their property taxes by, I believe, about $4,000 or $5,000 for this year. So I always tell every resident of everybody in Broward County, go on our website at bcpa.net, look at your property, and if you have any concerns with the value, give me a call, because we just want to make sure you pay only on your fair share of value. The second thing that we do is we give tax saving exemptions to people that qualify. And there are a lot of exemptions under Florida law that people qualify for. The most important one by far is the homestead exemption. If somebody lives here in Southwest Ranches and it's their primary residence, they get that very important exemption that gives them a whole lot of protections. It does two things. The first thing it does, it takes $50,000 of value off the tax roll they don't pay tax on. It can save them maybe $600, $700, possibly $1,000 a year. But most importantly, it really protects them going forward. Because every year after you have a homestead exemption, the value you're taxed on cannot go up more than a maximum of 3%. And everybody here knows what's happened to property values in Southwest Ranches over the past few years. They have skyrocketed. Homes are worth a lot more now than they were just a couple years ago, because people are coming from all over the world. They're paying top dollar for properties in Southwest Ranches, and that's really driving the market up. So I always tell everybody, if you did not file for homestead, you can pre-file for next year. It'll basically mean that the value you're taxed on won't go up more than 3%, and it won't skyrocket with the market value. If you get that, there are so many other exemptions. There are exemptions for seniors, for veterans, for people who are visually impaired. There are exemptions for widows. Go on our website, check out exemptions, and if there's something you're not getting, we'll make sure they're reflected in your tax bill. The next thing I wanted to quickly talk about, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, are just where values are right now. And values, once again, in Southwest Ranches have gone up very, very high. And the reason being, as I said before, people are paying a lot of money for properties. And just to give you an idea, in last year, if you took all the commercial and residential value in Southwest Ranches and you sold it on the open market, $3.198 billion. Fast forward just 1 year, there's been almost a 26% increase in market value to about $4.29 billion. That is a significant increase in 1 year based on new construction and people paying top dollar for properties. The taxable value is the value that you're looking at, that you are setting your millage rate on, which determines the amount of money that you need to provide the people of Southwest Ranches the best services possible. And in 2022, your taxable value was right about $1.909 billion. Fast forward 1 year, there's been a 16.39% increase in market value to right about $2.222 billion. And what that means is your millage rate, I believe, is 3.900. That's the operating millage rate. And so that'll basically mean you'll receive an additional right about $1.16 million more this year than last year. But something that's very, very important is the vast majority of that increase is not being paid for by your existing property owners. It's being paid for really by people coming in and buying properties for large amounts of money and the new construction that was added to the tax roll. To give you an idea, the average homesteaded property owners is actually paying about $77 more this year to the city. So the majority of that is being paid for, again, by new property owners and new construction. There was about $87 million of new construction out of the tax roll. The largest 5 properties were all single-family homes, the biggest being a property put on for about $6.33 million. You have 2,101 homestead exemptions here in Southwest Ranches. You have 58 low-income seniors who receive a low-income senior exemption. You also have 1 senior who has a long-term senior who pays no property taxes to the county. You have 150 widows and widowers who receive an exemption. And you actually have 20 American Hero totally permanently disabled first responders that pay no property taxes to the city of Southwest Ranches or any other taxing authority. And you have 2 totally permanently disabled first responders who pay no property taxes as well. Southwest Ranches, as you know, is the largest agricultural city in Broward County. Right now, there are 449 agricultural parcels that have an exemption. Out of that, that takes about $173,675,740 off the tax roll that people aren't paying taxes on. The average sale price and the median sale price of single-family homes are a little bit different. I'll give you both of them. The average sale price for a single-family home here in Southwest Ranches is right about $2 million. The median is about $1.39 million. The reason being is the average gets skewed a little bit. I know you had one sale, I believe, that was $30-some-odd million. So there was a few that can skew the average, but the median is really where is the best to use, and that's at $1.39 million. What's very interesting is the taxable value, though, is about $502,000. And the reason there's such a disparity there is because when somebody moves to Southwest Ranches, they love it so much they never leave, and so they get the benefit of the Save Our Homes cap that actually keeps that value lower. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, I was just quickly hoping to talk about before I answered any questions that y'all have is just something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I like to talk about it everywhere I go, and that's cracking down on title fraud. Unfortunately, South Florida is the title fraud capital of the world. It's the capital of the world because you have criminals, and that's what they are. And what they do is they walk into the recording division for every single county, every single day, and they file fake deeds on people's properties. And they take those deeds and they extort people for money or mortgage rent or sell the property, and they do it all the time. And the reason it's so easy for them is the recording division in every county has a ministerial duty. They have to accept whatever documents filed with them. So you have these criminals, they walk in, they file a fake deed, and they do something nefarious with it. And so the first thing we wanted to do, about 2 years ago, we wanted to give the people of Broward County the opportunity to fight the fraud before the fraud occurs. And about 2 years ago, we came up with a great program called Owner Alert. It's really a notification program that's free to the public that we spend no taxpayer dollars developing that lets people know whether or not a title change, legitimate or not, has been filed in their property. And any resident of Southwest Ranches can sign up this way. They can go to our website at bcpa.net or our very mobile-friendly website, which is web.bcpa.net. They type in their name, they type in their email address, and they type in their property ID number. And if we have their email address on file, they're automatically verified. If not, they have to upload their Florida driver's license or Florida ID. If they don't have that, they have to upload a utility bill or something proving ownership. And then if any document, legitimate or not, is filed changing ownership in their property, they'll be notified instantaneously so they can fight the fraud before the fraud occurs, and they can make sure their title doesn't get clouded and somebody can't do something bad with their property. We've had about 218,000 Broward County property owners sign up so far to get an email alert. We've also had about almost 100,000 Broward County property owners sign up now to get a text message alert. We instituted that about 2 months ago. And there are people in Broward County that don't want to receive an email or a text message. They can actually sign up to get a hard copy in the mail. Something I'm very, very proud of, and I want to thank you all for this. In Southwest Ranches, we've had almost 50% of all your homesteaded property owners have signed up for Owner Alert. That is a fantastic number. That's actually greater than the county on average. And the only reason I was able to do that is because you all have been such fantastic partners in helping me get the word out as to why this is so very, very important. And about 2 years ago, when we instituted this, I started getting phone calls from residents who would say, Marty, I just got an alert from your office that somebody changed title on my property, but I didn't do it. And then I got more and more and more, and I realized how big of a deal it was. And so I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to work with law enforcement, build criminal cases, and hold the people accountable who are doing this. So I got an idea. And I called the Department of Revenue, which oversees all the property appraisers of the state of Florida. And I said, Department of Revenue, I want to work with law enforcement and build these criminal cases. Can I do it? And I gave them a lot of heartburn. And they look at me and they said to me, well, you know, Marty, you're a property appraiser. You determine the value of properties and give exemptions. You're not law enforcement, but we understand this is a big deal for South Florida, so we're going to make you the guinea pig for the rest of the state, and we'll allow you to do it. And that's how my Crimes Against Property team was formed. I then went to the county commission. I said, County Commission, the Department of Revenue has approved a new department in my office so we can crack down on title fraud. Are you with me, and will you fund it? And all 9 county commissioners said, Marty, whatever you need, we will fund it for you, and they did. I then went to the sheriff of Broward County, who's my friend, and I think he's doing a great job. And I said, Sheriff Tony, I would love to work with you to build these criminal cases. Can we do that together? And he goes, Marty, not only will we enter into an interlocal agreement to work together, but I'm going to assign sheriff's detectives to work for you to be housed within your office to do the job so you can actually do the job of law enforcement and hold these people accountable. I thought that was fantastic. I then went to see our state attorney, Harold Pryor. And I said, Harold, you know, the sheriff and I, we're working together. We're going to build these criminal cases. And if we bring you some cases that you think are prosecutorial, would you prosecute the people that we are bringing you and hold them accountable? And he goes, Marty, absolutely. Not only will we enter into an interlocal agreement, but I'm going to assign an assistant state attorney to work with your office to prosecute the people that you bring us. And that's how our Crimes Against Property team was formed. And so over the past year, when it was formed, it now consists of our director, who at one point was second in command of the sheriff's office. We have 4 employees who are former law enforcement with significant investigatory experience, but not currently law enforcement. We have 2 sheriff's detectives. We have a Fort Lauderdale detective, and we have a Town of Davie Reserve detective. And over the past year, we've been very, very successful. This year, we've had about 132 cases that we've investigated. We actually have about 30 ongoing criminal investigations right now. We've arrested almost right about 30 people so far. We've had a number of of convictions. We have dozens of open warrants for people that we're going to arrest. We've been able to stop the fraudulent sale of millions of dollars of property all throughout Broward County, and we've been able to work with the court system to return the property in a very expeditious and more cost-effective manner to the people whose property was stolen from. And just to give you a quick idea as to how smart the people are that do this, I just want to let the residents know of 4 instances that just show what these people will do to extort and to defraud the people of Broward County. One of the cases I like to talk about was one of our first cases, and it involved a married couple, 2 wives. One of the wives worked for one of our hospital districts. The other wife worked in the real estate industry. The wife that worked in the hospital district would find out when people would pass on. She would then take their confidential information, including their social security numbers and other identifying information, and give it to her wife in the real estate industry, who would find out if they had property in Broward County and if they had heirs here. If they had property and no heirs, they'd file fake deeds on the properties. They would sell the properties on Zillow, mortgage the properties, rent the properties. They profited in the amount of millions of dollars, but something I'm very happy about is they were found guilty, and even though they're a married couple, they're spending their time in different prisons, which I think is a great thing. Another example happened right here in Southwest Ranches. You had a person not from Southwest Ranches and not from Broward County. He was actually from Miami-Dade County. And he somehow found out that you had a senior here that had a 5-acre parcel. And he also found out that that senior who had a 5-acre parcel all free and clear was also very, very sick and bedridden. And what he decided to do was very, very smart. He filed a fake corporation with Tallahassee. He made the officer and director of the corporation the 6th Southwest Ranches resident. He then filed a fake deed saying the corporation owned the property. He then made a fake ID saying he was that senior. He then walked into a mortgage company in the city of Sunrise and said, you know what, I've fallen on some hard times, made some bad financial decisions, but I have this one thing, a 5-acre parcel in Southwest Ranches free and clear. Can I please have a $515,000 mortgage? And the mortgage company said, sure, we'll give it to you. And this is where they really should have realized something fishy was going on. The closing for a 5-acre parcel in Southwest Ranches for $515,000 took place at a Burger King in Hialeah. So they go to the Burger King in Hialeah, and you have the bad guy trying to get the money, you have the mortgage company not doing their due diligence, and you have the smartest person in the room, the notary. And the notary is looking at this thinking this is very, very bizarre. So she asked for the guy's thumbprint, which he gave. She then provided it to our office. We contacted the Town of Davie Police Department because they police Southwest Ranches, and the U.S. Secret Service because they handle a lot of the identity theft cases in America. Fortunately, the man was arrested. Unfortunately, he was given the full $515,000 mortgage, spent about $80,000. We've recovered the rest. A third issue happened very, very recently, where we actually arrested so far about 5 people in this scheme. And a number of other people are going to be arrested. And I can't verify this, but I was actually told that all the people in this scheme, which is a very smart scheme, all met each other in jail and came up with it. And here is what they would do. What they decided to do was to use the court system to steal people's properties. It's very smart. You had the ringleaders. They would file what's called quiet title actions in circuit court, basically lawsuits in circuit court saying this senior or this person or this bank no longer wanted the property. The return of service for the answer would then go to the guy's buddy who's in a mobile home in Hillsborough County, and he would say, oh yeah, I represent that senior, I represent that person, I represent that bank. Yeah, we don't want the property anymore. Please put in this other guy's name or his company's name. And they stole at least 25 properties that we found so far. We tend to find more every single month. 5 of them have been arrested, and we have a few open warrants for some others, and some others will be arrested very, very soon. But I learned something very interesting from this case. The first thing I learned, and I've always known this, is the property owner is the victim. But then I also learned that the community can be a victim as well. Because in one of those properties that they stole in Fort Lauderdale, they moved a whole bunch of their buddies into this property. And one day, about 3 or 4 in the morning, one of their buddies walked out of the house. He went to a neighbor's property, tried every single door until he found one that was open because they forgot to lock it the night before. He walked into the neighbor's bedroom, up to their bed, while the husband and the wife was sleeping. Fortunately, the wife woke up, started screaming, there's somebody in the house. He was chased out by the dog, arrested, charged with burglary, given an ankle monitor, and went right back to the stolen home. So we then worked with the city of Fort Lauderdale to remove the people from the home, and we did. And then I learned a third thing. I learned not only is the homeowner a victim, not only is the community a victim, but the people that are squatting these homes can be victims as well. Because when they're in these homes, they are living in terrible, terrible conditions. There's usually no water. There's no electricity. It's very, very dangerous. And when we removed the people from the home, I believe there was a 5-year-old child that was with them. The other story I just wanted to bring up, and it's the last one because it happened very, very recently. The sheriff and I, about 3 weeks ago, did a joint press release together. And we did a joint press release about a person who stole a 96-year-old deceased lady's property. And what occurred was he actually called my office. And he said to us, hey, my grandmother just passed on, and she left her property to me. How can I sign up for owner alert? And our office basically said, well, you have to provide us a deed to the property showing that you own the property. You also can provide us a will that's been probated. And he goes, oh, okay, I'll get that to you tomorrow. So the next day he sent us a fake deed and, of course, a fake will. And we knew it was fake right off the top. For example, the notary signature said County of Florida rather than County of Broward. There was all kinds of things you knew why it was fake. So we sent it to our Crimes Against Property team. And then we found out that the guy actually found a buyer for this home in Tamarack that was actually going to buy the property. And we contacted the attorney that was actually handling this closing. And he said to us, we thought this may be a little bit fishy. We're not going to go through with it. And we actually said, no, please go through with the closing. And so we had BSO at the lawyer's office. The man came in his car. He signed all the documents. Then they arrested him. But then something else happened. They searched his car. And when they searched his car, they found a treasure trove of information about how he was trying to rip off a lot of people in Broward County. They found 53 identifications of Broward County residents. They found credit card information, PIN numbers. They found tax return information. They even found checks. This is how smart he was. Checks that were fake checks, but that he was cashing drawn on one of our most prominent Broward County businesses where he was pretending he was an employee. He stole thousands of dollars. I wanted to bring these 4 stories up, and I can bring up many, many more, but I want to bring these up because I hope every single resident in Southwest Ranches signs up for our Owner Alert program. I think it's your first line of defense to make sure nobody can steal your most important asset, your home. And I also like to talk about this everywhere I go because I want every criminal out there to know that if they're thinking about doing this in Broward County, they're not welcome, and if they do it, we're going to make sure they spend a long time in prison. With that said, Mr. Mayor, I've had 5 cups of coffee, 2 Red Bulls, and a Diet Coke. I'm very wired, but I'm very excited to be here. Does anybody have any questions? And thank you all so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any questions, comments?
No, but I'd like to mention that this is available on YouTube, so if you want to go back and watch it tomorrow at a slower speed, so you can get everything. Very good.
Well, I always tell everybody if politics doesn't work out, I'd be a fantastic auctioneer. That's like
That's
my
it.
backdrop.
That's it.
And also, I want to say, David, I'm sorry to hear about your mom.
Thank you.
Thank you. I lost my mom in 2014 to breast cancer, and not a day goes by that I don't think about her. But I will say this. As time goes by, you only have one mom, and it's never easy to lose your mom, but over time, you'll start thinking of all the happy things. You'll think about her every day, but the pain will start going away a little bit. But I'll keep you in my prayers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Marty.
Mayor. Thanks,
Appreciate
everybody.
it.
Have a great day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, move on to the next item, proclamation for Zero Waste Month.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This is a proclamation for the Zero Waste Month. Whereas the health of our environment, economy, and society is essential for our current and future generations, and whereas wasting depletes the health of our communities by excessive consumption of resources, water, and energy, removing those resources from future potential, and whereas wasting creates direct and indirect negative effects to our communities by emissions to air, water, and land, and whereas zero waste is a goal that is ethical, economical, efficient, and visionary to guide people in changing their lifestyles and practices to emulate sustainable national cycles, where all discarded materials are designed to become resources for others to use. And zero waste means designing and managing products and processes to systematically avoid and eliminate the volume and toxicity of wasted materials, conserve and recover all resources, and not burn or bury them. And whereas implementing zero waste will eliminate all discharges to land, water, or air that are a threat to planetary, human, animal, or plant health. And whereas actions taken towards zero waste will have the added benefits of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, saving money, and advancing community goals for health, safety, economic vitality, energy independence, and quality of life. And whereas the town of Southwest Ranches supports this collaborative effort, bringing awareness to the need for local solutions to the pivotal issues facing our planet and community members to work towards positive change. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Town Council of the town of Southwest Ranches do hereby proclaim October 2023 as Zero Waste Month, bringing the community together in action for a healthy, clean, and sustainable town.
Great. Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, I think it's very important. We're definitely, I think, one of the most proactive communities in Broward County along this lines. We have some tremendous volunteers. Richard, Debbie, thank you for all that you're doing and for all that you're coordinating and bringing together. It's critical and it's very timely, and our future generations will very much appreciate it. So thank you. It's important. All right. Next item is, do we need?
Public comment.
Yeah, okay, next item is public comment. We don't need to vote on that, right? Do we? No. All right, just want to make sure.
Yep. So, Mayor, we have several speakers tonight. I'll call them up in triplicate so everyone can just come up when they're called. If you have not filled out a form and wish to speak, please do so now. If not, you'll waive your ability to do so at the start of the meeting. The first three speakers are Bill Bird, Ed Flores, and Rick Cormier.
Good evening. I'm the owner of a piece of property on 210 Terrace, 5011. Just wanted to be here tonight to see how things were going and just to be a part of the community, and excited to see what's happening here in Southwest Ranches. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Flores, followed by Rick Cormier, followed by Michael Cardenas.
Ed Flores, 5801 Southwest 210 Terrace. I also own 3 other properties in Southwest Ranches, including Rolling Oaks. The reason I'm here is because I'm a little bit concerned about this vote that took place, or I don't know if it took place or not, but the proactive code enforcement. I have a problem with that, and so of a lot of people on 210 and 208. And I'm just here to support my people on 210 Terrace and 208. And like I said, I have a huge problem with this proactive code enforcement coming around, taking pictures, and I just want to know who gave the order for that. You're actually turning neighbors against each other. We had a great thing going on 210 and 208, everybody helping each other. And now I found out a lot of people complaining to me because everybody comes to me because they feel comfortable talking to me about it. And I heard so many complaints this week that I just felt that I should come here and tell you guys about it. And with all due respect, Mayor, I just wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I've spoken to a few people here already, and I think that you should reconsider and, the proactive. The only thing you're doing on 210 Terrace is making neighbors against neighbors. And this is, 210 Terrace is a place that everybody helps each other. And we've been helping everybody there on 208, 210. Hurricane comes, we're the first one to clean the house. Fire truck, something happens to the fire truck, you can speak to Chief Lee. They bring it to me. Hydraulics, I fix it, no questions asked. I don't know if you know about that, but I do a lot of things for the town that maybe you should be aware of. And when people come to me on 210, because believe me, everybody comes to me because they figure that I'm the guy on 210 Terrace. And they told me that I should speak and say something about it. Bob does a great job on Country Estates. He usually comes around, checks around, and I respect that on Bob. He's doing a good job there. But I just want to say that think about that proactive. The only thing that you're doing, you're giving Julio more work, and also you're making our 210 and 208 people just get mad at each other when we had a great thing just because of one person that is unhappy with the backgrounds of what Bergeron is doing behind his yard. And everybody lives with that because I heard that they're building warehousing behind on 210 there. Not 210, but between you know what I'm talking about. And and there's nothing anybody can do about that, So I just want you to reconsider, the code enforcement being proactive. This is not why I served 24 years in the military in combat situations, to come here and feel like a criminal in my own backyard. So I want you to reconsider that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Rick Cormier, followed by Michael Cardenas, followed by David Rivera.
Good evening. How long do I have? 3 minutes. I thought it was 2 minutes. Some of you might know me. I've known Bob for a couple of years, and last time I met with Steve, I was given a name. Given June 25th is Rick Cormier Day in Southwest Ranches, and my company did not do some of the things that I got that name for, and that day named after me because I wanted to be up here saying it. I'm here for my family. I'm here for over 100 children that are fed every day from the company that I own 100% of. I've already been given a cease and desist in the last 6 years from the town of Davie, and twice from the town of Southwest Ranches. I'm still alive. I'm still working. My company's still alive. I actually did a job a couple of years ago for Bob. It was the worst job I've ever done in the history of my company in 6 years, in the muck in his yard. Bob's known my wife since she was a little kid because she grew up on 198th. And 210 is not 198th. 210 is not Rolling Oaks. Don't know if anybody's driven down 210 lately, but we got a big issue with the roads. Good news for my company is not one of my trucks drives down that road. I'm fortunate enough, sarcastically, to live in front, my property be in front of a resident of this community, that most of the people in here who are outraged with harassment and targeting for racism purposes as well as purposes of what's going on US 27 with Ron Bergeron. Ron Martinez has a beautiful view from his back window of US 27 now. Beautiful view. And he's pissed. Okay? And on September 3rd, Ron had admitted to me in a friendly conversation that he has a real estate agent and he's moving. Some decisions are going to be made. Julio's in here. He said, I'm getting a letter by tomorrow. And those decisions are going to affect a lot of people's lives. 210, we, in a short time, have built such a great relationship and have helped each other out. I bought my first trailer from Eddie. Michael came and helped me out on a job with one of his machines the other day. Sid, I bought my first plant from Sid on my first landscape job years ago. I just come here and tell you, hey, listen, please, there's a dump 100, 200 feet away from us. Weekly's blowing smoke at 5:30 in the morning. US 27 and Ron Bergeron, I've got complaints against me about smell and about noise. Well, there's 24/7 dump trucks and bulldozers going on in Ron's backyard. I'm not the problem. Please come down the street and see what the problems are. And don't target somebody that has nothing to do with the problem for someone that's not going to even be living here in a couple months. He's not even going to be here. Please. Thank you.
David Rivera, followed by Gay Chapels, followed by Jim Lasky. Didn't I already do it?
You had called me before, but then you had switched up.
It's okay.
Okay. Sounds good. So good evening. My name is Michael Cardenas. I own 2 properties on Southwest 210th Terrace. One 4,000 square foot home, and one a nursery that we completely renovated the land. So I always speak to all the neighbors. Like everybody said, we do have a very close relationship. We work very well together. That's why you guys never hear any issues from us, because we work harmoniously together. And I think just being a real estate broker my whole life and understanding real estate, I think the issue that we're having is that Southwest 210 is zoned the wrong way. The street is completely surrounded on all sides by industrial zoning, now including new warehouse project that runs the length of the back of the road on US 27. That completes the boxing us in of being in the middle of industrial zoning. The town still calling the road residential, and we understand how it can easily be confused from afar, but the fact is that there's a discrepancy between its classification and what it actually is. And only those who live on the block will fully understand that. The street right now serves as a feeder road for US Highway 27. It serves as a commercial road for the IAA auction that some days runs 35-plus trucks down the road just for that single business. Tow truck drivers of that auction stage cars on our block for the purposes of picking them up later, as if the block serves as their personal holding facility. School parents race down the block in the morning to get the kids to school in time. Tenants, employees, visitors of the industrial business and the industrial parks that our road is connected to all use this road as their main transportation. The county dump and the asphalt facility at the end of our block pour over godforsaken smells at certain times of the day. Every single day they're open. Now, I don't want it to be mistaken for complaining about these facilities because we understand the necessity for them. And we also understand that there's an unrealistic expectation of most that need to dispose of trash as well as needing new asphalt roads, but nobody wants to live close to the facilities that provide these necessary services to our community. 210, we don't complain about things, which is why you never hear a word from us about them. We understand that we signed up for that road, and we work peacefully with our neighbors and in harmony. The mass majority of our block are in agreement that we are a light industrial road and should be zoned as such. The fact of the matter is we get treated as an industrial complex. Speed violators use our road sometimes as an autobahn, but there never seems to be any enforcement for that. In fact, the only enforcement that we're consistently seeing is the town attempting to enforce what they're calling violations on our properties. The Code Compliance Division on our block now seems to be acting in the capacity similar to the FBI on our block, making us feel like complete criminals, constantly taking pictures of our property from every angle possible, people taking drone photos, and sometimes multiple times a day, as if we're getting ready to get indicted with a RICO Act. And it's just wrong. We're legitimate tax-paying residents with multi-millions of dollars in property assets, but yet somehow we're still getting treated as if we're outlaws. The town's ready to spring into action when one single property owner on the block continues to make reports, and he indeed is the only single property owner with complaints. Where's the support? Where's there only negative actions taken, and why it is that only one resident can rally up the town officials so much that they can come in like a SWAT team? When I spoke to that individual, which I did, I confronted him to ask him exactly what the issue is. The first thing out of his mouth was I knew I shouldn't have listened to the council members when they told me I needed to make a complaint on everyone on the block for them to enforce this the right way. They're throwing me under the bus like a scapegoat. They're turning me against my neighbors, and that's not what I wanted to happen. Those were the exact words of Ron Martinez, the same resident the town's repeatedly saying is the only complainant on our block, repeatedly. What kind of political, corrupt horror movie is that even out of? Something has to change. The solution is very simple, and it benefits everyone. We're asking you to consider properly zoning the block to reflect the type of activities that actually go on a daily basis. We're more than prepared to get the necessary signatures on petition to make sure that everybody understands our positions, and are confident we'd be able to do so that everyone is hearing it right from the people that own the land that's being quote-unquote investigated. We don't need to be policed. We need the people that we voted in to keep harmony in our town, just like was sworn to do. And that's not a one-sided job. Thank you.
Thank you. David Rivera, sorry. David? Gay Chapels, you're up.
Okay, you five went around town and asked everybody to vote for you, and you were going to protect the rural lifestyle and make it the way it was before we became a town. My only regret after living here for 65 years that we became a town. We should have gone to Davie. Davie's over there doing its own thing, leaving people alone. I have a relative over there, my brother-in-law. He's lived over there 20 years, and he hasn't been bothered. They do their thing. Nobody bothers them. This town is out of control. I had an A1, A2 zoning on my property. In 2021, U5 voted to take it away from me and Mars Dykes, which is now Josh Dykes, who has been Johnny on the spot for everybody in town, me included. And you just blatantly cleaned my clock on my A2 zoning. My PDR, which I did on that property to keep it agricultural forever, to protect the area, had an A2, A1 zoning on it. It says in the PDR, it is an A2, A1 zoning forever, agricultural use. And yet this town and you 5 people voted to remove the most 2 important things, my boarding kennel and my veterinarian clinic. They were in the A2 zoning, and I know you're laughing, Bob, because I guess it's no money out of your pocket.
No, it's lies.
Okay. I've had a boarding kennel there, licensed, still do, for over 60 years. I traded my A2 zoning for the road. That was 62 years ago. Mars Dykes did the same thing. He gave up Dykes Road for an A2 zoning. It's the only A2 zonings left in the whole damn county. So how are you protecting me? I've now got my place up for sale. Why? Because I can't stand the fact that you are hounding me 24 hours a day. If a weed is growing or a limb is hanging over from one of my trees, you have code come out and cite me. I have them all. And I comply. It's no big deal. I go out there with a chainsaw and I get my grandson or I hire somebody and I do it. But this isn't what this town was supposed to be. It really wasn't. We have become elitists. We don't want anybody here unless they have a lot of money. So you're really literally getting rid of anybody that has ag. And don't believe me, just drive up and down the streets in this town. And then ask Code how many times he's cited everybody in town. If their dog barks. Oh, wait a minute. I used to play music in my barn for my horses. I can't play music anymore. You all have a zero tolerance for noise now. You made that little law. Why? Because somebody complained that somebody was playing music too loud in their barn. Has anybody been to New York? My God! Anywhere else in this country? I was in Fort Lauderdale. People were playing instruments on the street. They were singing. They were having a good time. Wow. Not in this town. I saw something on Facebook that cracked me up because I knew we were headed there. A woman moved into town and a horse had pooped on the road. And she wanted to know on Facebook, what do you do to clean up the poop? Who do you contact in town that the horse made the poop on the paving? I'm sorry, folks. I have to tell you, I did go to lunch with the mayor, actually breakfast with several people, and I got up and I told her and the people there, I said, you know, the saddest thing I ever did was help this to become a town because I'm sorry we didn't go into Davie. Because Davie really supports everybody there. Whether or not they have horses, they have animals, they want to play music, they want to have parties, they don't have to get a permit, they don't have to hire police. Where are we going with this, people? I mean, okay, I'm for sale. Help me sell it. I want to leave. I'm ready to leave. You got rid of me. I fought hard for 60 years. But I fought the stuff that was important, like they wanted to put homes out there and put the homeless on Dykes Road over 60 years ago. There was nothing out there. Wasn't even a dirt road. I fought that at Broward County. I was a regular at Broward County. Anything they wanted to throw out here. So
Okay.
I'm just telling you, you guys have run me out. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Lasky, followed by John Garotti. Final speaker is Newell Hollingsworth. Are these on? Totally off. Okay, no worries. Thank you. John Garotti, and last speaker is Newell Hollingsworth. And I don't think the mics are working.
Are they working? Yes. I guess I'll be the guinea pig. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's John Garotti, 162nd Avenue. Thank you guys for showing up. There's a lot of new faces in here. I thought I was the only upset resident for a long time. I got an audience. It's awesome. But you know what? You know what you guys are hearing? You're hearing complaints. You're hearing people that aren't happy. Some folks are mentioning things that I've been up on this stage talking about for years. I've been here 22 years. You know what the problem is? We don't communicate. We don't listen. The rhetoric we've created. Some guys are pointing fingers out today. Watch this. You guys are you're getting what you set up. The rhetoric is, look what they're saying. Tell the councilman to, come on. What are we doing? If you're going to represent a public office, what in the world are you doing getting involved in every single complaint? That skews the rules of the game. It's just not, if I was a councilman, you know what I would tell you? Do we not have a code enforcement department? Go through the process. Let me know how that worked. But to go behind and make it a pet project of who are we going to complain of? I've heard councilmen up here telling one of their residents that they needed a fill permit to make a garden bed. I'm not going to mention the name. I can't. It would just look so foolish on TV. But you know what? Southwest Ranches, the property taxes that we pay. Mrs. Chapels, that's my neighbor, 22 years. I know she had a boarding kennel. Whatever happened to that, it was before my time. I have one. It's licensed. I went through hell to get it. But guess what? You can do it again because there's laws that permit small businesses to operate in this town legally with guidance. All I've ever said when I stood up here is give people a way to go. Teach them, instruct them, stop this fining, stop the whole town attorney coming after every single business. You know, I would understand if the businesses weren't licensed, but I've said it before, you guys go after businesses that are licensed. So it's like, all you got to do is look it up. Look at all the Broward County records. Problem after problem after problem. For what reason? For what? Communicate. Look at these poor folks in the Middle East. I know we have a resolution on the books. Stand with this country, stand with that. I have no dog in that fight. It's funny I say dog. But imagine what those folks are going through. Both sides of the coin. We live in a paradise, and think about the next time somebody's going to say, let me go call code enforcement and create a problem. Listen, if it's a code complaint that can be resolved, I can assure you, by some of the neighbors that are here, you knock on their door, you talk to them. If you're a man, a woman, a real citizen, you work it out. You don't go throw code enforcement, because in our town, code enforcement is used as like our little police. It's our little pet police. Whose number do we have? How friendly are we with this one? What does that solve? Other than writing checks and just creating havoc. So next year's an election year. That's how you remove folks out of office. You got to do what we're supposed to do in this country and vote people out when we're not happy with them. But a lot of things don't happen here in this town. Not everybody has the time to do a public office, a public job. But you know what? That's the only way we change rules that just aren't Southwest Ranches rural type of laws or just the way of life. We live differently out here. But that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Newell, final speaker.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. We got a surprise this evening. And our long-distance community person is here tonight. And I see she's blushing over there already. I'm not going to embarrass her. I'm just going to say it's really great to have Emily here tonight. And She works as hard for this town long distance as if she was in the other room. And the only problem is she's not here brightening up our day every day, as she did every time before. And I am very proud to have her here tonight. And I wish her and her family the very best up in the deep south, where she now lives. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Board reports. Do we have any board reports this evening?
So, Debbie Green, I'm just going to share an update on the Zero Waste Broward Task Force. The very first meeting of the new Solid Waste Authority, which has a long name, but we'll just call it the Solid Waste Authority, was held yesterday morning. So during that, the executive committee was formed. So on that, Greg Ross and Beam Fur were elected as the chair and vice chair. And then there were the county representatives. So from there, there's 5 from large cities, 3 medium, and 2 from the small. I'll mention them really quickly, just so we, all of the members of the executive committee, Russell has put onto the town website. So if you go to the garbage and recycling tile and down to the solid waste updates, it lists each of the executive members, the alternates, the chair and co-chair, and their email addresses. So these are the people we just really need to start getting our message to, that the way of this new master plan needs to be steered from the incineration method to more of a zero waste. So the cities that are on this executive committee are Carol Schumann from Hollywood, Alexandra Davis from Miramar, Mike Ryan, Sunrise, Nancy Bowen from Coral Springs, Melissa Dunn representing Lauderhill, and the alternate is Steve Glassman representing Fort Lauderdale. And the medium cities are Ellen Villalobos for Tamarack, Henry Mead for Weston, Greg Ross from Cooper City, and the alternate is Bob Mayerson from Parkland. And the small cities is A.J. Ryan from Dania Beach and Scott Newton from Wilton Manors, and the alternate is Mayor Bright Cruz. So in that meeting, it was kind of disappointing that the mayor wasn't elected as one of the permanent representatives for the standing members for the small cities. But as I thought about it, there is the plus side that the mayor is now, he's part of this executive committee, he's an alternate, but he still has a voice. So he has a voice. And I did look up while I was sitting here, I pulled up the ILA. So in there, it does state that the alternate members may only vote when a primary member of the executive committee in the applicable category is absent from the meeting. Alternate members may attend and participate during discussion in all meetings.
Great.
So that's section 6.3.2.2.
Great.
So we answered that question.
Yeah, good.
So I think in that regard, at least you are now part of that discussion at that smaller table that has the votes.
Good.
So I think now it's imperative that we all, get the information out, talk to our neighbors. There's still so many people that are unaware of that there's an incinerator possibly being proposed to be built right adjacent to the town of Southwest Ranches. So, as we keep, you talk to this neighbor and that neighbor, and you're like, oh my gosh, how do you not know? Because it's been broadcast from the town for months now. So it's just we just need to get the words out. Tonight, we have a flyer that's kind of a little cheat sheet, gives you a little bit of all the harms of incineration, and then also a little cheat sheet as in some education of zero waste and how we can move towards that. So anybody who wants to be a part of this fight, and just even, that you can send emails, the email address to to send an email address to, so we can get you on the list and we can get all the information out. So any events that are coming up, whether it's meetings or an event that's planned that we just need to show up and for, so we can get that email out to everyone. So that email is zerowastebrowardtf@gmail.com. And then Richard has set up a Facebook group, Broward Clean Air. So if everyone can join that group, there's a tremendous amount of information on there. And this way we can just really blast out and just get all the information out. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate all the work that's being done there. Any other board reports? Yeah. Hey, George.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Town Council. George Morris, Chair of the Drainage Board. Haven't seen me a little bit because we had a previous meeting that was canceled due to a conflict with the Town Council. But our last meeting was on September the 19th. Basically, we had a quorum. We talked about Southwest 63rd Street, the pre-construction at that time, which is, we had to also discuss the public meeting. So the public meeting for that project on Southwest 63rd Street is scheduled for October the 17th. So everybody please come out and, we're trying to do our due diligence and inform the public, et cetera, and do a better job than we have in the past of informing the people. As well as we talked about a project on Southwest 54th Street. That project was awarded to a company that was just bid. It was awarded to Absolute Construction, so we're hoping to get that project started real soon. We also talked about the design of a 48-inch culvert crossing Griffin, which that's about 80% complete now. And also Southwest Meadows Sanctuary project there is about 80% complete. And in addition to some other conversations, we had some discussions about wetlands, the new laws, Supreme Court, et cetera. Y'all can do some research on that with respect to the wetlands and trying to resolve those situations in our town. Our next meeting is October the 17th, so everybody please come out. The public's welcome. So thank you. On another board, if I may. The town of Southwest Ranches, Astronite Southwest Ranches Parks Foundation, we have coming up soon the carnival, our carnival. That is scheduled for in January. Let me just pull up the dates here real quick. January 11th, which is Martin Luther King holiday. It starts on the 11th. We're going to be operating hours from 5 to 10:30 p.m. It's going to continue to the 12th from Friday from 5 to 10:30 p.m. Saturday, 12 noon to 10 p.m. on Saturday, and that's the 13th. And Sunday, 12 to 10 p.m. And we're going to be open on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it will end on January 15th. So we're looking forward to that event. Again, we're still looking for sponsors. We're going to be doing pre-sales. We're going to be on Eventbrite. I'll make some more announcements as we get closer to that. Another event that we have coming up even before that is December the 9th. We're going to have our chili cook-off and car show. So everybody please come out and enjoy that. It's a wonderful event. That's held at the Rolling Oaks Barn off of Mathers and about 58. And the Astronite Foundation, again, I want to thank the town of Southwest Ranches, Russell, and anybody else who was involved with respect to requesting a stage for this upcoming third country fair that we're going to have. So we did secure a stage for the use for the public and concerts and bands and whatever. We're going to try and do and improve and step it up from what we did last year. Last year we did have a little band that came out on Thursday night. It was the Hialeah Hillbillies. They actually did a really good job for those of you that were out there. But this year we're going to step it up a little bit. We're going to get off the grass and we're going to be on a stage. We're looking for donations and things of that nature for sound, and we're going to also involve the community, maybe some karate schools, dance schools, etc., School of Rock, try and have some other performances out there to try and bring the public in, involve families, involve the local community, etc. So we're very excited with regards to that and looking forward to that. Another thing that we are definitely looking for, anybody out there in TV land, we're looking for some sponsors, maybe to sponsor the stage, with the event, the sound, or looking for a large sponsor that can help us out to really put on a really good show, to try and, again, as I said, step it up this year. Also, behind me, we have the Tree of Life. We're trying to look for donations, too, to try and, for very good cause for the Astronite Foundation, trying to raise money and support the town and the parks, etc. One thing that I talked to the mayor about, I met the mayor out at the Southwest Meadows Sanctuary Park, was regards to the landscaping. So I don't know how far that conversation went between me and you. I know maybe got a little skewered about what my intentions were or whatever. But as I had discussed with you, Mayor, the park's been there for, since the conception of the town for the most part. It's got a landscaping buffer between the park and Griffin. It was planted by Broward County. There's native trees that are in there. However, in the last 15 years or so, there's been invasive species trees, melaleucas, hollies, bachophia, bishopwood trees that have invaded the landscaping and is starting to take away from the growth of the landscaping. So when I met you, I was just talking about maybe bidding out, clearing out, doing something to remove the invasive trees, not the native trees. We don't want to move the native trees, and perhaps cut down and trim some of the lower trees, not the oak trees, not the big, large wood trees, but the firecracker bushes, maybe trim them down to allow the other hardwood trees to grow and people to be able to enjoy the openness that we have and, preserve our rural lifestyle, see the open areas, because that is, is what our town is about. So I'd like to kind of reduce that buffer that's there, people to be able to see the farmer's market, people to see the carnival, et cetera. It's just something I'd like the council to maybe discuss tonight to see what we can do about cleaning out that landscape and removing the invasive species trees before they actually destroy the native trees, because I took it upon myself to remove an invasive species tree that had probably a good 10, 12-inch caliper. It was a holly tree, and I pulled it out. When I did pull it out, those invasive roots destroyed some of the native trees. So it needs to be addressed, not on an annual basis, not on, maybe, every 5 years, 10 years. I don't know, but I think that park is due for that. I'd love to see that done. So that pretty much concludes my report. If anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. Again, we're always looking for people to join our board. Feel free to come on anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Any other board reports? Seeing none. Council member comments.
I guess I'll start us off.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. And how many we have out on YouTube land? 9 people. Thank you. Very good. We're happy to have you all tune in. Hopefully, one of them is making dinner for me today. Anyway, just want to bring up a few things happening in the town here coming up. We have Halloween at the barn on the 28th of October. It starts at 6 p.m. Please come out and bring loads of candy. We have lots of kids, usually about 300 to 400. Haunted house. We have a lot of fun with that. It's put on by Rolling Oak Civic Association, and it's town-wide available. And just want to make mention that the horseshoe portion of the road, which is where all the trick-or-treating is done, is going to be closed off at 6 p.m., so everybody kind of needs to get there, quarter to 6, 5:30 somewhere, and get set up for that. The other thing is that we have a holiday light contest. It's the 6th annual one. For decorated homes for the holidays. The applications need to be in by the 1st of December, and judging will be on the 5th, and the awards will be awarded on the 7th by Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus on a fire truck. Will be coming around. It's a lot of fun. It's a great event for the various neighborhoods. So want to make mention of that. And also, the DMV Flowmobile is back. It's going to be here on the 25th of October from 10 to 2. You need to make an appointment with the clerk's office and Deborah, and she'll get you signed up, for that. I just want to make a mention of, we had a lot of new speakers here tonight, and I got, from a council point of view, I'm speaking for my colleagues, speaking for myself only, I kind of got mixed messages here. And I'd like to clarify it a little bit more with some individuals out there in the audience. Mr. Flores, if it's possible, if I could have a conversation with you sometime later in the week or whatever, you can explain to me what's transpiring out on 210 that I'm not familiar with or that's causing problems. I would very much want to do that, And everybody, because I'm slightly confused as to everything I've been hearing. So I want to make sure I have a clear picture of what of what you're talking about, if that's okay with you. So, okay, great. I'll try to, if you don't mind, let me have your phone number before you leave, or we'll talk later. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. But basically, that's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Who else? Anybody else?
All right, I'll go. Thank everybody for coming out. Good to see some old faces coming back. Good to see you, Doug. Thank you for coming out. And the new people, thank you for coming out. I'm going to begin my comments with my monthly law and order citation report. And basically what this is a report of the traffic citations, the number of citations, and because speed is the number one complaint that I get from phone calls, I'm going to emphasize on those for the citations. For District 1, there were 11 citations that were issued. Of those, 4 were for speeding, and all of those were on US 27. 2 of those had to involve racing. District 2, there were 22 citations, and 17 of those were on speeding, all on Griffin Road. District 3, 37 citations. Of those, 21 were for speeding, and of those speeding citations, 12 of those were on interior roads, including 172nd Ave and Dykes Road. District 4, 80 citations. Of those, 70 were for speeding, and 7 of those on the interior roads. I did speak to Louis Gregory via text, and he had asked me if there was any way that we can put any traffic calming implementations on Dykes Road, just to kind of slow the vehicles down on Dykes Road. He was making a specific complaint about that. Remind folks that to tell your landscaping folks when they come out and do services on the weekends or even during the week, lock the trailers, lock the vehicles. I've had neighbors in Sunshine Ranches that have had property stolen, both inside the vehicles and the landscaping equipment. And it's just because they're away from the trailer doing services and somebody comes up and finds an opportunity. Last weekend, the Shot Center in Sunshine Ranches held their 5K run. I did have one slight complaint from a resident who said in the future, can there be an accommodation for access to his property so he's not blocked in because of the 5K run. He runs an equestrian business, and he had some of his customers that could not get to their horses. Last night on the incinerator task force, there was some questions about ways to get the message out and get more people concerned, and almost like an alarm. We got to get people more interested. And I understand there probably was a lesser appearance last night because of all the services in respect for Israel. But we did have a smaller attendance last night, and I was thinking maybe we can get some, maybe the task force can get together and we can think about this, doing a TikTok video. TikTok videos seem to be the newest rage with our youth, and we got to get our youth involved with this. And if we can get a real nice production, get somebody with a charming personality, I'm not going to do that. But somebody with a charming personality, you get a really well-produced video, and I'm sure that that can be one way of getting our message out. And I also an issue with the incinerator task force. One issue with the zero waste involves composting. And I would really like to see if the town can look into creating an area for composting, because we're the leaders on this, and composting is one of the options that are used to move forward with zero waste. And it's kind of important with the incinerator task force that is meeting here, and that they're not looking only for Southwest Ranch's best interests. This concerns the approximately 8 million residents of all of South Florida, giving us clean water, clean groundwater, protecting our clean air, and protecting our property values. Every one of these council members have opposed the incinerator, which, for those of you that are not aware of it, is being proposed at the Broward County landfill. So it's right down the street from some of the folks that are here tonight, and that's something that all of us up here are against, and we really would like to have some more community input on that. And last, I do have folks heard about last weekend, and it touched a lot of us, what has happened in Israel. There was an unprovoked attack from Hamas into Israel where many residents of Israel have been killed. Americans have been taken hostage and kidnapped. There are children that are put in chicken cages by Hamas just to exploit the horrors of what they're doing. And Hamas has said that they will start killing the people that are taken hostage if Israel attacks without prior notice. And I'm like, without prior notice, that's, okay, we're going to tell you we're going to bomb you. That is not the way war works. So I did propose a resolution, and I'd like to have this forwarded. And Deborah, would you read it for me, please? Thank you.
Is this the right time? I mean, we can do it now, but I wasn't expecting to do it right now, but that's fine.
Do you want to do it another time, Steve? I have no problem with that.
The only, you're in the council member comment portion of the agenda. If you would like to see if the council will add it to the agenda, the mayor can do it by his own action or could take a vote of the.
Yeah, how about if we'll put it as the new item number 10.
Okay, I'll move
the
it to an
first-
item number 10.
First item there.
And then I'd like to ask the council if we could put this on the agenda.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, David, for bringing this up.
All right.
We appreciate it.
I'll go next. I don't have a lot tonight, folks, but something I wanted to bring to your attention. Last night at the Broward Clean Air Zero Waste Task Force meeting, there was a lot of discussion on talking to our neighbors. Now, one of the things that constantly comes up when I talk to my neighbors, they haven't heard anything about this. So a small group that are part of the task force put together a 2-page handout, flyer, call it what you want. And the front page is all about incineration. We need to educate ourselves on this. There's a million words for incineration these days. Zero, they call it waste to energy. They call it gasification. There's all kinds of crazy terms to confuse people. The first page, and these are on the back table if you want to grab one on the way out. The front is all about the evils of incineration. I mean, it is bad news. The backside is about zero waste because most people don't understand. I talk to elected officials at the county level, start talking about zero waste, and they say it's a pipe dream. No, they're just not educated. They don't realize that it's being done in plenty of places in the world. It's just that here in this country, the companies that build incinerators are the first ones on the scene. Usually the zero waste guys are last. We're trying to turn that around. So on your way out, if you would, grab one of these, take a couple. Oh, and there's also cards back there as well. There's business cards back there as well, basically with the contact information. So if you would, start talking to your neighbors, talking to your friends, call any of us if you need information, come to the, when's the next meeting? November 8th is the next meeting, so come on out, we need your help. It was kind of interesting. Yesterday, as Debbie had mentioned, was the first meeting of the new Solid Waste Authority. And it's kind of interesting, when this was all kicked off by the Solid Waste Working Group a couple of months ago, there was really no discussion about zero waste, recycling, all that. Yeah, we need to make 75% recycling according to the state's laws, but we're going to do it by burning. We're going to, go for it by building incinerators around the county. At the time, there was no discussion about anything else. I think we've changed the path on that. I'm hearing it from other elected officials wherever I go now, because my first question is, where do you stand on incinerators? And most of them are pushing back on it at this point. So we've gotten the word out that we don't want this in Broward County. We don't think it's appropriate in Florida anymore. It's an old solution that has served us, I guess, but we don't want to go forward with it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Jim.
Thank you, Steve. Thank everybody for coming out. I heard this evening a lot of things that I didn't know, and I will assure you that I feel the same that Councilmember Jablonski does. I will ask and see, what all is going on. I will not let it go by without trying to find out what goes on. I think most of y'all know me. Once I get on something, I follow it through. Real quickly, I know this past couple months has been a real whirlwind for the town, and the main issue is the incinerator. But I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to the residents, especially from Southwest Ranches, from Weston, Davie, Pines, Cooper City, that have come to the meetings. They've started, our residents here have started a grassroots effort to fight this. They're not fighting the incinerator in my backyard. They're fighting the idea of reusable, recycle, reprocessing, redoing. That's what we have to do. We're a throwaway society, and we really have to get away from that. My generation grew up that way. We've got to stop it for our kids and our grandkids, So I'd like to say thank you to the group, to the volunteers, to the leaders there, Debbie and Richard, thank you. And hopefully, we can change their mind and make them do something else instead of putting an incinerator, here. Broward County has developed an elaborate plan for resiliency for climate change. I sit on the Broward Water Board, the Broward League of Cities, and the South Florida Regional Planning Council. And each one of those groups has committed to climate change. Broward County leads the state. Past 2 years, I think they've received close to $220 million in grants to fight. And when I say climate change, I'm talking about sea rise. I'm talking about flooding when the rains come out here, saltwater intrusion, the groundwater rising. Right now, there's a map that's being proposed to the county that'll be approved for the groundwater, which probably will affect us out here a little bit in that we will have to raise our houses up a little more. The houses that are already built, I just don't understand what can be done, but the groundwater's coming up and there's no more drainage. Everything's turned into concrete. If you go to downtown, you'll see everything's concrete, so there's no place for the water to go. We can't pump from here east because we flood them. They have a new reservoir being introduced just a little further north of here. I don't know, it's something like 20 foot deep, and it takes up, I forgot how many square miles, and that'll help a great deal here. But these are the things that the county's looking at to see, about us and future climate change and flooding out here. We, as a town, have commissioned a stormwater master plan that deals with our town in particular. And I would like to say that we have a great team here in Town Hall and one in South Carolina that does the grants and applies for them with the state and local governments, federal governments. And I'm pretty sure that we've received over $1 million or more, maybe $2 million in grants over the past couple of years to do the projects that we do right here in town. There's been a number of drainage projects that's been completed. There's a number on the books being planned, and some actually starting. Those that are starting, the residents, like you said, will receive a letter notifying them that it's getting started. There'll be a workshop letting them know that stuff's coming up. And, we're working on it. But the idea of these grants is that it's not costing you, the taxpayers. What happens is, if you get $1 million grant, for example, and you tell them that you'd like to put $100,000 in for $1 million, that means you have a little what they call skin in the game. You're interested. If you just ask them for $1 million, it's not going to happen. But our team does the best they can. We put in as little money to get as much money as we can, so I really thank them for that. And lastly, if you want a speed sign, and I heard David mention here somebody wanted a speed sign, please give me a call. Call Town Hall. We have 2 mobile trailers that roll around. They flash. They're not as well equipped as the one out on 186 that tells you a whole bunch of stuff. But if you want one in front of your house, if you want one on your block, give us a call and we'll be happy to put it there. All right? If you got any questions, give me a holler. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. I know didn't have the kindest words for us as the council, but that's okay. That's how we know that there's a problem. That's how we know that there's an issue that we need to address. And so I sincerely appreciate you coming out and bringing it to our attention. I also want to give a welcome to Mayor McKay here this evening. My apologies for not recognizing you earlier. You snuck in, I didn't see you, but thank you. Thank you for being here. Always good to see you. So as far as the issue that you all have brought up, so clearly there is an issue, and I also would like to meet Ed with you or whoever. I think Ed, you've heard both sides, and you'd be a great person to talk to. I'd also love to meet with you. So a couple of thoughts, and I don't say this out of being negative or anything. I just want to set the record straight so that we're dealing with facts, because some things were said this evening that are not true, and to me, I want to get past the rhetoric. I want to get into what's really going on, and let's see if we can fix it. Right? I think that's where we all want to be, and that's where we all want to go. So there was some things said that I just want to get straightened out so that we get it in the past and we can focus on the real issues. I never want to see in our town this division between agricultural uses and the residential uses, and it pops up every few years because it's two different. It's two different ways of viewing our town. And so it's natural that it pops up. But at the end of the day, we need each other. We need both sides. Both sides contribute tremendously to our town. And, we just had the property appraiser here. And, $73 million worth of properties was the number he just gave us this evening of agricultural properties. That we protect those properties. The county, the state protects those properties. And those homes that are huge homes that maybe have a different view on the rural lifestyle, they pay a big bill to make up the difference. Does that make them worth more than the other? Absolutely not. That's my whole point, is we need to work together. We're two different views. We're one town. Everybody brings something together. And so the key is to find those issues that we can work on together to get past this, to improve everybody's situation. And that's our goal as the council. We don't pick winners and losers. That was said tonight. That is clearly not true. We try and enforce whatever the ordinances are of the town. And frankly, if the ordinances of the town are not working, then we're here to change them, and we do that. So I wanted to get that out there. The sound ordinance was brought up. We have not changed the sound ordinance. We discussed it a few times, but we've made no changes to it. The last sound ordinance was changed about 4 or 5 years ago. I wasn't on the council at the time, but it was changed then, and there's some issues with it, and we're discussing it. But no changes have been made there. So I just want to get that out there. That's not an issue. It was mentioned about a drone, looking, if there's a drone over your property, it's not coming from the town. We don't have a drone. So it's coming from some other place, So I just want to get that out there, because if you see a drone, it's not us, okay? The whole decision to go proactive, well, that's another thing that we've discussed, but no changes have been made. We changed nothing. So I don't want to attribute anything that is happening now out on 210 to a change in policy for being more proactive. No policy's been changed. Okay. So let's get past some of those misconceptions, those misnomers, and let's get to what the real issues are. And I'm not sure, like Gary said, I thought he made a great comment. I heard a lot of stuff tonight, but I have not really formulated into my mind exactly what the issues are. And I want to. We wouldn't have this many folks out here this evening if there wasn't an issue. So let's get together. That's what we do in the ranches. Let's get together. Let's talk it through. Let's see where we are, and let's see what we can do to resolve it, okay? The last thing I wanted to mention, George, we did have a great conversation. You grabbed me and took me out to the park. Appreciate that. And I think I did misunderstand a little bit of what you were asking for, and then I passed on that message to administration. So let's get that cleaned up. But definitely, I absolutely, completely support. I think we need to get the invasives out of there. That's just good management, and we need to do that. It's been too long. If we need to, I know December would probably be kicking me under the table if she was right here, saying, I would love to get rid of those, give me some money to do that. So if we need to do that, let's find out what we need to do to get it done. As far as trimming other stuff, I'm going to leave that to you all to figure that out. I'm not going to weigh in on that one, but getting the invasives out of there is something we really need to do. All right, I think that's all I have. I did want to before we get into legal comments, just a couple things, Keith, one comment and then and one thing if you could address, just to bring us all up to date. First is, Keith, I know that you have done an amazing job of helping individuals who are involved in that crisis in Israel. And I won't go into details, but on the record, I want to say thank you. I can't thank you enough for what you're doing there. So I'll leave it there. If you want to, I'm going to leave it there. But thank you so much for what you were doing. The second thing is, I'll just say, if we could get an update on the progress on Russell's contract, I'd like to get an update on that. I think we're on a tight time frame there. I know Russell's going to be out of town for a couple of weeks, and I prefer him not be negotiating a contract while he's out. But we really need to wrap it up in November, if at all possible. So I know the pressure's on. The time is short, but just want to throw that out there. So if you have an update on that, appreciate it. Legal comments, please.
All right, Mayor. First, let me just answer the Russell question first. I've met with a lot of the council individually. I've spoken. If not, please call me about salary and certain of those issues, just to get a general flavor where the council's at. I do need to sit down with Russell. He sent me Andy's contract black line, essentially with his thoughts. So we've started the initial process. I do have to sit down and go through it. You're going to destroy my negotiation leverage if I can't do it while he's out of town, which is what I intended. But I promise you that it will be on by the second meeting in November.
There's only one meeting in November.
Which will be the main meeting in November. We will have it ready for that agenda. In fact, Russell reached out to me this afternoon, and we're just going to have to sit down and hammer it out and then confirm that the council's okay with where he wants to be. So I promise we're working on it. First, and foremost, David, Councilmember Kaczynski, I am share in Marty Kier's perfect sentiments on the loss of a parent. Unfortunately, numerous of us have dealt with the same issue and know what you're going through, so our thoughts and prayers are definitely with you. My thoughts and prayers are also with the mayor of Hollywood. For those of you who do not know, he lost 5 family members on the first day of the terrorist attack. And in fact, the story was that the terrorists lit his family's house on fire, 2 parents and their 3 children. They ran out of the house to escape the burning house, and they were shot as they were trying to flee their household. I was a little bit disappointed by hearing a resident speak about both sides of the equation, because I actually don't see it as a terrorist attack dealing with families as both sides of an equation. And I quickly remembered something that General Schwarzkopf said after 9/11, and I looked it up on my phone just to make sure I quoted it properly. And what happened was General Schwarzkopf was asked if there was room for forgiveness to the perpetrators who had the attack on 9/11 in the United States. And his response is as good today as it was then. He said, "Forgiving them is God's function. Our job is simply to arrange the meeting." And I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. What the Mayor Bright Cruz was referring to, and I'll just tell residents who may not know, there were, in the wake of the terrorist acts, there were numerous South Floridians who were trying to get their family members home and out of Israel. And through contacts both with the CEO of El Al Airlines and other individuals who were arranging trips for Canadian Embassy, U.S. Embassy, and otherwise, I was able to help numerous South Florida families get their children home and their family members home, and we will continue to do so. Other than that, no further legal comments, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. Andy, administrative comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and Keith, thank you for your efforts. Just a couple of things, I'll be brief. Councilmember Kaczynski alluded to composting potentially in the town. Just want to let you know that Richard Ramchartar had brought me some information a week or so ago, and we're in the process of setting up a staff-level meeting so we can begin to explore that and whether it's viable and what we can do. So we are taking a look at that. The other thing was I heard from a couple of you about the Shot Center Walk and a particular resident who was unfortunately inconvenienced. And I'll say that this is the same walk that's occurred annually for a number of years. We did promote it this year. It's unfortunate that he missed it, but I can tell you that Russell has a note in his calendar to get with Davie PD next year so that we can accommodate to make sure that that same issue doesn't happen again. I know that we can do that. We do it every year with the Seek Walk, so there's certainly not a reason why we can't accommodate that neighborhood better. So we've made a note to make sure that we do that going forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. All right, so now if we can do the item, David's item next.
Certainly, Mayor, this is a walk-on item. Resolution. It's a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, supporting the people of the State of Israel amidst their ongoing fight against terrorism, denouncing the brutal and unprovoked actions of the militant group Hamas, and urging the United States federal government and its allies to take substantive action to denounce and condemn these terrorist acts and providing an effective date.
Dave, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion. Approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'd just like to say again on the record, David, thank you for bringing this forward.
It's definitely my pleasure.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that this actually has to be brought up.
Right.
Really.
Right. Any other comment from the council?
Just thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Any public comment on the item? Seeing none, if you can please call the roll. Oh, I do. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, thank you.
Good evening, it's John Garotti, 162nd Avenue. I'd like to take this moment to really clarify what the town attorney just said about the comment I made. In no way, shape, or form do I mean any disrespect to the Jewish folks that have suffered and continue to suffer and that will always suffer in that part of the world. So if you want to twist my words, Keith Poliakoff, please do me a favor and don't use this forum for that, because I know you have a personal vendetta against myself. So what I want to say and what I meant by both sides of the equation, when you have tragedies and disasters of that nature, when one party decides to attack an innocent country that hasn't done anything wrong, Keith Poliakoff, so you're clear of what I'm telling you? I'm not, hold on, Steve, because
I'm not gonna tolerate.
well, he didn't like what I said,
did
and
not
I'm going to
call-
clarify it. So what I meant on both sides of the equation is the suffering that both of those countries, not the terrorist group, because I could care less about a terrorist group. What I'm talking about is that he's trying to twist my words.
I'm not,
And
he
that's-
is not, no.
But that's what's happening.
That's
So-
disrespectful.
It's
Put-
not disrespectful,
put-
Steve.
put
So
the
my
mic-
point, I'm
Put
going
the mic down. I'm not gonna have that disrespect.
Steve, I'm not disrespecting him.
You are.
He's twisting my words,
I'm
and
gonna
my
need
words will not be
somebody to
twisted.
take the mic from this gentleman.
Yeah, that's not what I meant, Keith, just to make it ultra clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to say I'm glad you clarified your remarks because I can tell you I personally took it the same way that Keith took it. Absolutely, that's how I took it. And I can't thank you enough, David, for bringing this before the council and for this council to pass this resolution. It's horrific. It's not one country against another country. It's a terrorist or group against an entire country and people. So I appreciate all that you have said, and thank you for clarifying the remark. And just so you know, the remarks you made to people who take this to heart, and it's more personal, that's how it came across.
Any further public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. If you can please take the roll, please.
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Albritton,
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes,
Resolution passed.
thank you. Item number 10.
This is an ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, relating to the installation of water and sewer lines within the town's rights-of-way, requiring utility providers to seek town consent before working in the town's right-of-way, requiring utility providers to abide by the town's conditions of approval prior to initiating any work, establishing baseline requirements for approval, requiring a property owner to obtain a permit from the town if they are bringing water and/or sewer to their property, requiring a property owner to specifically acknowledge as part of the permit that the public utility cannot be activated unless the town's permit has been approved and finalized, requiring any contractor to certify that the public utility cannot be activated until the town's permit has been approved and finalized, enabling the property owners to recuperate their investment for the extension of water and/or sewer lines, providing for penalty, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification in the town's code, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any council comment on this item?
Mayor?
Yes.
If I may just state where this came from, and truly, I worked very hard with the mayor in bringing this to its final form. Is the resident who was the impetus behind this ordinance here? I know, wonderful. I'm so happy you're here to hear this. You're not the only one, and that's why I want to point it out, and I know you want to speak on this item. We have received numerous calls from residents, including yourself, John Davis, others, longtime residents in the town who are desirous in making a major financial expenditure in bringing water and/or sewer to their homes in Southwest Ranches. They just want to do so with some guarantee that in the future, if someone taps into the line that they're building the infrastructure for, that they can get a prorated portion of that line back if they're going to upfront all the money. It is nothing new in Southwest Ranches to have that occur. Johnny Sessa was the first. It occurred on Hancock. That's how everyone in Hancock has water. He cut the deal with Sunrise Utility at the time that they would run the line down Hancock to his property, and he would pay for it, and as people tied in, Sunrise reimbursed them the money. So this is nothing new in the ranches. It's just nothing that had been formally ever on the books of the ranches. In addition to this, some of the public utilities have taken a little bit of advantage of the ranches when it comes to they only approve their design. The town doesn't really have input on where fire hydrants go, where wells go, et cetera. So this is the first ordinance that enables the town to actually not only allow residents who are putting this infrastructure to get reimbursed, but it ensures to the town that the installation's done the way that Rod wants it to be done and the town wants it to be done to enable taps and connections for people in the future. And unfortunately, it is what it is. As water becomes a more and more valuable resource, as wells become potentially, contaminated or otherwise, and as the Florida legislature starts to restrict the installation of septic more and more, which is what's happening, this ordinance becomes that much more important. So thank you for bringing it forward and thank you to the mayor for really working hard to get this in its present form.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate the background on that. Yeah, I think, when I look at this, we're mostly on wells. There's like two sides to that coin, and I think this is the appropriate second side. The first side was that we made sure that we could not be forced to go from well to water if there was just a line that was put in there close to it. And for a while, we were in danger of that. And fortunately, Keith, your work on that, we were able to get that so that now we know that if you want to be on well, you can be on well. Well, this is the other side of that coin to make it possible that if you want to be on water, that you can be on water as well and not be footing the whole bill and then everyone else just kind of taps in for a minimal cost. So it's the fair thing to do, it's the right thing to do, and as Keith said, it's not something new. It just makes it codifies it. So any other council comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. In the 1950s, early 50s, my father did this exact same thing in North Miami, took it from 125th Street to 149th Street because my mother wanted city water. And he put in a 12-inch pipe with connectors at where every street would be, T-connectors with valves on it. And when the developments came in, and it's similar to when someone wants to build a house or connect, they had to pay whatever the cost was at that time for North Miami. North Miami set the rates per foot. And that footage had to be paid to my father because he owned the pipe. He did not own the pipe. He installed the pipe with contract with North Miami that he would be paid the going rate for the pipe at that time. And I think that should be part of our agreement in this ordinance tonight, is that whatever the rate is, and I believe it's mainly Cooper City's rate per foot, that they have to pay the prorated amount to the person who put the pipe in at their expense because they are put a sizable dollar amount. And if it's 10 years or 15 years from now that they want to put it in, and they pay what they paid, say, last year or this year for that pipe, they're getting it basically for free because the dollar will not be worth the same in 10 years as it is today because you take a look at what you made 10 years ago and what it bought and what it buys today, and you know that there's the inflation. So as long as we have that in there, I think the person who puts the pipe in needs to be reasonably compensated according to the Cooper City rates or whatever municipality is providing the water for that. And I think that needs to be part of this. Thank you. It's only fair.
Thank you, Newell.
How you doing?
Hey, Ed.
Ed Gonzalez, Holity Trail. A year ago, I'd spent quite a bit of time with the City of Sunrise trying to get water out to my property. And one of the things that I found it interesting is even though my neighbor directly across the street and my neighbor to the left has the water already, and they have a main on the corner of where I live, they insisted that I have to pay all the way back to Sterling Road in order to bring the line up to feed me, even though it's right across the street. and right on the corner. I don't know if the city has any input on that, but that made the bill go down to like almost $65,000 to $70,000. I just thought that was ridiculous. So I finally dropped it, but now that I'm hearing what I'm hearing, that's something that you guys might want to look into. I don't know what influence you have with these guys, but it's ridiculous if it's right across the street to make me go all the way
Right.
down the Sterling Road. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ed. Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. Any other council comment? Seeing none.
Mayor, I do have a question. Listening to what Newell says, is that anything reasonable that might or might not, Mr. Polikoff? Is there something that, I mean, does that make any sense to put that in so that 10 years from now, the cost is more, I mean?
So that is not factored in the present ordinance. I know the mayor was clear with me that he didn't want this to be a money-making exercise for the homeowner, that it was basically to enable them to get the reimbursement of their outlay. It wouldn't be inappropriate, however, if the council so choose to add a CPI adjuster annually once that pipe comes onto line to ensure that that person gets their actual value of that dollar amount back. But that's up to the council.
Yeah, Jim, I think it is reasonable. My hesitation with it is not whether it's fair or not, because Newell makes a point about fairness that makes sense. My concern is the mechanics of it. How are those rates going to be set? I suspect there's not a single rate there. I suspect there's a rate depending on various things, what type of property it is or what size it is or a number of other issues that I'm not an expert in the field, but I suspect that there's not just one rate. And so there may be some then debate on what's the right rate to use. I don't know. I was trying to keep it simple. Right now, there is no real reimbursement in the code, so I was trying to get the reimbursement in there and trying to keep it simple. But if there's a simple way to do it, what Newell says makes sense, it's fair, I don't have an objection to it.
Right. Mayor, I understand, and if the person that's putting it in, if it costs them $1,000 to put it in, then whatever their cost would that be what they would reimburse to the person? I mean,
so if they just simple
Right,
math,
so-
this is not the right math, but simple math. So if it costs $10,000 to put in the main, it's going to cost a heck of a lot more than that.
Exactly.
But just for simple math, if it's $10,000 to put that main in there, and they are one of 10 houses, then they would be paying $1,000, and then as the other 9 houses signed up, they would get $1,000 from each one of those houses.
Well, I guess I miss, the person who puts it in, the main trunk, the next person that comes along, whatever their cost would be, whether it be $1,500, $1,000, $1,200, would they pay that to the person to make it fair? I mean, it's not costing them any extra, they're just giving that
So the
pro rata
next
share, to that person.
Right. So the next person so same example, $10,000, right? So the individual, let me get a little bit more detailed. So the individual pays $10,000 for the main, okay? Then they have to pay whatever it is from that main to their house. Let's say $500. So their total cost is $10,500, okay? The next person, their neighbor, says, hey, that's a great idea. I want to put that in, right? So they would pay $1,000 probably to the utility for access to the main, and that $1,000 would go to the original owner. And then they would pay their $500 to hook up to the main. So they would pay a total of $1,500, and now the original owner that paid $10,500 now got $1,000 back, so now their outlay is only $9,500.
Does Cooper City have the capability of doing this for us?
So let me just add in one more facet to this. The ordinance is clear that at the time that the homeowner installs the line, we have to approve the paperwork as to how much that line costs. If we don't agree with the number, we use RS means or whatever the factor is at that time, exactly as if someone was doing a building permit. So it's the town who's collecting the money when the next person pulls the permit to tap into that line. They still need a permit from the town. So it's not being controlled by Cooper City or Sunrise. This is all in-house with the town through our permitting department. The dollar amount gets collected at time of permitting and then reimbursed to the homeowner from the town.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Heath. So that's why, I mean, and that just adds to how kind of the simple mechanics of it
Okay.
rather than
All right.
an increase over time.
I am kind of interested in that CPI adjustment, so that, because just the general value of money, that if somebody forks out in her act, I think it's going to be like $60,000, and 10, 15, 20 years down the road, that value of that dollar is not going to be the same. So somebody connecting 20 years down the road is going to actually get more of a benefit than what Dr. Espinosa is actually forking out for her line.
I get the theory, and I get the fairness of it. What I'm not sure about is the mechanics of how to make it right. I mean, we can't just pick a CPI number because it changes all the time. It changes month to month.
It does.
And I don't want this to be something where all of a sudden people start putting in main lines so that they can start making money. You know what I mean? I mean,
Investment.
yeah, as an investment for future. I mean, this is just to facilitate the process, and I'm not looking to overcomplicate it. I'm just trying to be fairer than we are today.
Right.
This has to go through 2 readings,
It does,
so we can think about it a little bit more.
and that would be an awesome idea.
Great.
Yeah, Mayor, I don't quite understand how you would apply the CPI over a 10-year period.
I don't either.
If somebody hooked up 10, 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
You know, I think, I mean, you can do the math, yeah,
But, right.
it turns into a money-making operation.
Yeah, and then different people will have different CPIs they want to use, and there's no golden CPI.
It's
Depends
very
on what you
complicated.
include in, Yes, yeah. Anyway, so think about it. I would encourage us to pass it tonight, and like you say, there'll be a second reading. Any other council comment? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Albritton?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Item number 11, please.
Item number 11 is a resolution of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, establishing a policy and rate schedule of reasonable fees for the registration of vacation rentals pursuant to Article 45, Section 045-030 of the Town of Southwest Ranches Unified Land Development Code, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further council comment on this item? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this item?
Just a point of information on this. Didn't you say that the resolution was going to be after 10 that you were adding
Before 10.
on Hamas and Israel?
We did.
Okay.
Oh,
This is 12.
Okay, I must have missed it.
Blink.
any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. Please call the item.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Albritton?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. All right, item number 12/13.
This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving an increase to Purchase Order 23-026 to Cap Government, Inc. in the amount of $67,813.50 for engineering and certified floodplain manager, CFM services, approving a budget amendment to the fiscal year 22-23 town budget authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to execute the purchase order and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further council comment on this item? Yeah.
If we could have Russell or Andy explain the numbers.
Okay.
I think that would help clarify it. Russell did an excellent job with me yesterday.
Who wants to take it?
I'll take it from 30,000 feet and let him sweep up after me. as
Okay,
needed.
great.
Yeah, within the Public Works Department, we had a vacancy from July of 2022 until April of this year when Joyce started with us. During that time, we were using CAP at an hourly rate to provide floodplain management services. So it worked differently than the typical CAP contract, in which in normal permitting, they'll charge a permit fee, they'll keep 75% of it, and 25% of the permit fee goes to the town. This was straight fee for service, and it, I think, confused their billing system because it worked a little bit differently. So we only paid them for plans that were reviewed, and those costs were passed along to the developers, the property owners who were doing that work. So it was, while it's a major change within the purchase order to CAP, it was not a loss of money to the town. And I know Russell had the more exact numbers on that. So go ahead, sweep up after me. Let's see how you do.
I don't know that I could do much better. What I would kind of highlight to you is that during the time period where we didn't have the employees, I apologize that my sound system sounds terrible. The town realized $58,000 in basically the savings in personnel expenses because we didn't have the employee here. And so during that time, we collected another $58,000 in permit fees directly for the services provided by CAP. So that arrangement is a little bit different than when we typically use them for building department services, where we have a fee share arrangement with them, where they get 75% of the building permit fees that come in, and we keep 25%. For the fees for service for engineering, the town gets the entire amount, and then they bill us for the time provided for the services that they provided. So if you look at it together, it's basically $116,000 that you can look at it from that perspective. And what we paid to them during that time for the services that they provided was $92,000 for the services that were provided. So what we're looking at here is a budget amendment to basically provide for the funding for what we didn't initially anticipate to pay them for that service, where we thought we were going to have basically a purchase order only for $24,000. So if you look at the $92,812.50 minus the $24,999, the purchase order that we issued, that's the differential that you see there, the $67,813.50.
Very good. Thanks, Russell. All right. Any public comment on this item?
Noah Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. Why wasn't this part of the budget series? Here it is, 2 weeks after we approved the budget, and we're talking about something that we've known about for quite a while. Here we are doing a budget change already, 2 weeks after the budget is approved. It should have been part of our budget. That's what I believe. And I still don't quite understand, is this a person that we are hiring, or is this a person that is added to CAP through their contract? And his thing that we had $92,000 and $115,000, I didn't quite understand how that worked out. And now it's $67,000. I don't understand where the savings is at this point. And I don't understand where the employee is located. Is it a contract employee with CAP, or is it an employee that we have? And what is the difference and what is the savings? Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. All right, I'll do a little sweeping after Russell, and I'm sure someone will need to do a little sweeping after me. Here's the situation was we had a person in this position, worked for the town, they left. And we still had work that needed to be done, and we had a challenge hiring for this position. So because this individual, because there was no one in this position for a period of time, the town saved money.
50 grand.
Okay, because we weren't paying anybody for it. However, the services still had to be performed. So we used CAP to perform those services. Well, CAP, I don't know what they pay their people, probably a similar rate as ours, but there's also a profit level on top, right? They make money, like any business. And so overall, we had to pay extra because we were paying a contract person to do the job when for this interim period, which is now ended, for this interim period when we had a contractor doing the job rather than an employee. We good?
Yeah.
All right.
Just a comment.
Yeah.
So we saved 50 and we spent 67. So we really net only spent an additional 17,000 here. We just said we didn't pay somebody for 6 months, 9 months, whatever it
Well,
was.
so we saved $58,000 in the personnel expense, but during that time, we also realized direct, direct permit revenue of $58,000 for the work that was being performed, right? So if you look at it from that way, if total money saved or earned, it was $116,000. And during that time, we did pay CAP for the services that they performed, and that interim basis, as the mayor indicated, of $92,000 during that time period. So if you looked at it from a savings perspective, what we saved would be the 116 minus the 92, and that's what we would have saved. So $24,000 approximately.
Thanks for doing a little more sweeping.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good? Yeah.
I think Emil has some further sweep. He's getting it.
All right. All right.
Just as a point of reference, that what we're doing is not for fiscal year '24, but for fiscal year 22-23.
Right. Thank you. All right, Deborah, if you can please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kozinski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Albritton?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. Then we have 3 sets of minutes. The budget workshop for August 15th, the special meeting for August 24th, and the regular meeting for August 24th. Do we have any, we'll do all 3 of those together. Do we have any additions, corrections to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
And do we have a
Second.
second on the motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additions, corrections? Thank you, Bob. Seeing none, any public corrections, additions to the minutes? Seeing none, if you can please call the roll.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kozinski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Albritton?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Get over here. Yeah, get over.